On today's episode, I'm catching up with dancer and choreographer Lucky Lati, who has brought his wealth of experience in traditional and contemporary Ghanaian dancing to Australia. Hi, Lucky. Thank you so much for joining me today.
Thanks for having me.
When did you first move to Australia?
In 2011,
Where from?
from West Africa, Ghana,
And what do you remember about your experience moving here? What were your first impressions?
I was very busy in Ghana. I was training. I was training and performing a lot. And when I moved to Australia, um, you know, I'm in a new place, so you got to start from beginning. So I think my very first here was very, very hard because I was missing home, the culture, the food, the people, but also to be able to then start building my network, getting work, getting knowing people.
And what was it that helped you kind of find your footing, find your place here?
I was very lucky because when I moved here, there is a big community of teachers from West Africa that are doing West African traditional dance performing teaching. I've also worked with a guy from Ghana who had a company here. But also, my very first show I did here, there was a lady there who also had a project that was focusing on using dance to heal trauma, working with refugees from from SSI, Service of International. And so she was like, "Oh, we think you'll be the right man for this job." We created a community company called Afro Contemporary Group, and it's like I ended up working with them for about 8 years. In the last 13 years, the best thing about being Australia is being able to reflect a lot on my own culture, like things that I took for granted, but I also have the opportunity to sort of build my career, find my own space.
Can you take us back to your start in dancing? How did you get involved?
I grew up in a community where music, dance, entertainment was a very, very big part. It was just like we can say equivalent of Newtown and this place is called Jamestown in Accra. And if you're not a boxer, you're a soccer player, you're a musician, or you're a dancer, or you're a drummer. So it was easy to pick up because everyone do it. That was my first introduction to dance because it was very accessible and it's free as well. But I had a mom who was like, "No, no, you don't. I'm not gonna allow you to dance because I'm a first boy. I'm the only boy. My mom. I was like, you have to be very, very educated. So I did study. I did engineering in school, mechanical engineering, but I was still practicing dance. I did 10 years training in traditional West African dance, and then I also did some training, around about 3 years, improvisation dance training through abstract drawing. I discovered a teacher who also left Ghana for a very long time and really developed a whole new practice. So when I came to Australia and started having an opportunity, I was like, oh, okay, so dance is just more than just, music, dance, dancing about history, but you can also use your dance to talk about politics, environmental issues.
What does dancing mean to you?
Dance is freedom. Dance is it's a place. It's a only place that you're not pretending. It's also my power. That's the space where I can actually say whatever I want.
I like that you say that because it's like what words can't say,
Yeah,
dance can kind
100%, 100%.
of show.
Yeah, 100%. And also, what keeps me going. That's what get me out of bed to be excited to making something that I feel like it's contributing to my life, but also to other people's life as well.
How does it feel bringing your culture to the people that you're teaching, to the people who come and watch your dancing?
Oh, it's amazing. in the last 13 years, practicing dance in Australia has been the most amazing thing in my life. I mean, not just like making people feel happy, but also educating people, you know, but also me myself learning a lot about my culture, my people, also, you know, about the African person experience, really.
Can you talk about that experience establishing your dance company here in Australia? What was that like?
Also, hard enough because, you know, I've come from a place where I have no business background. I have to set up a company, you know, website, logo, and all that kind of stuff. So it was a nice learning. I have a skills that was very much needed in Australia, which is performance. So it was very, very easy. I think the challenge was that, you know, I wanted to be more than just an African traditional dancer. I want to be an artist, you know, and so I found myself working in different spaces. Australia is a very interesting place. You know, it's like, so when I'm in London and I go into spaces, it's like they're 30 years ahead in terms of the presence of the African. I guess the conversations that I'm having, you know, in Australia, then, you know, we maybe 400,000 of us in Australia now. We don't have the audience. You know, our shows, my shows, will be like only 5% of Africans in there, but also not a lot of people like me working in these spaces. So the opportunities for us are not so big. We really need advocacy body for art in general, so we can help champion a lot of young African choreographers, creative thinkers, producers, because I feel like as a community we are missing out on a lot of opportunity.
Is there something you wish someone would have told you before coming to Australia?
There's nothing like experience, right? The first thing I tell my friends when I first moved to Australia is like, save your dollar.
Yes.
It's very important. And so, you know, it took me a long time to really understand money because, you know, as a migrant, African migrant in Australia, we have this strong connection to the continent of Africa, and that means it's like, you know, you're always giving a helping hand. And if you want to be a practicing artist, then you also have to have a very strong background, have that strong foundation, because you know, having a strong foundation is freedom and it's power, and you can sort of keep practicing your art.
But now, having lived in Australia for, you know, many years now, what tips would you give new African migrants about making a life for themselves here in Australia?
It's a country of opportunity. You just have to be very, very dedicated and consistent and be strong in your voice, but also learn, you know, to be able to watch and see how other people are doing, other successful people are doing, and what you can learn from it, you know.
It was so good catching up with Lucky and getting to dance as well. You can tell how passionate he is about dancing, especially when he said dance is freedom. I felt that. I was fortunate enough that my parents were very supportive of what I wanted to do, which was to be a journalist. So my first TV presenting experience was at our uni's TV production studio. It was an extracurricular activity that I volunteered in, and it was something that I did just for the joy of it. A few years later, I signed up to do a radio presenting course at the community radio station near where I lived. I felt that there were people whose stories I wanted to hear from and things I wanted to say. I eventually got my own radio show once a week, and that really opened doors for me. So keep an open mind. You never know what could lead to the ultimate career you want. Thanks for watching. Make sure you check out the other episodes in the series to find out more tips from African migrants about life in Australia.